You're listening to the Hope Not Nope podcast
with Doc Dylan
and Brandy.
We empower high performers with a 3-part strategy of hope,
Self-agency, goals, and proven frameworks,
so that you can reach your potential
and the highest quality of life. How's it going? Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Hope Not Nope podcast. Our person today who asked the question, I think, can be relatable to a lot of people. I know that I have been in a similar place like her in the past, and I have a lot of friends that have been in similar places like this. And so, listeners, make sure you keep listening because maybe this is very relatable for you. So Bree says, to be honest, 2026 is not going how I planned it. I feel like I'm lacking so much momentum. My goals are nowhere in reach, and I'm just really in need of hope. I listen to your podcast and I always feel so lifted up. Thank you.
Oh.
Appreciate that. Do you have any tips and pointers that can help me with this?
Oh, Bree, you came to the right place, and she already knew that because she's been listening.
Yeah, I know. I know that she's like kind of on the struggle bus, but
Yeah.
I feel so encouraged that like we've been a source of like upliftment for her, and hopefully this episode can not just be uplifting, but can be very like tangible for her as well, and any other listeners who are kind of sitting here in the middle of March and going like, what has 2026 even been? Like, I started this year and I was like ready to go. This was going to be my year, and crap hit the fan, and you've just been on the struggle bus for 3 months. Like, if you are feeling that, this episode is for you.
It reminds me of my buddy that I used to compete with all the time in CrossFit. And in the sense of the beginning of the year, like pacing goes out the window for whatever reason. And my buddy would be going into workout and like, hey man, we can win this one. We just need to pace it appropriately in the beginning. Like, don't come out sprinting. It's a 20-minute workout. If you come out sprinting, we're going to fall off at the end. Like, we got to control the pace, chip away. And then when there's like 3 minutes left, okay, now we can send it. Got it? Yep, got it. First 2-minute sprint.
But it felt so good.
I felt so good coming out. I had a lot of energy, and I just crashed. Like, yeah, you got to pace it. But it is funny that it's just the beginning of the year hype of, hey, close out 2025. I'm heading into a new year. I'm going to go achieve all these things. Like, 2026 is my year. And then you get less than a quarter into it, and you've probably sprinted a lot and didn't pace. And now it's just kind of feeling overwhelming because it's overtraining. There's just too many things that are happening. So, Bree, we're happy that you answered this because that's us.
Yeah.
Like, we have been there, and it's something that we're working on, is the pacing part of it, which is really difficult when you live in a grind first society.
Yeah.
And that we're surrounded by hard work fallacy, and that if you haven't achieved what you set out to achieve, it's simply because you're not working hard enough. And sometimes that's insulting to a high performer because they're like, you don't see or know how much work I'm putting into this. And if you think that I can put 1 more ounce of energy into it, like, you're wrong, because I'm already doing that.
Yeah.
And the kind of hard work fallacy society would be like, nah, there's always more left. Dig down deep.
Yeah.
And like, no, sometimes, Bree, sometimes you need rest.
No, rest is essential. Like, the people who sleep less than 4 hours a night because they are in this like hard work fallacy society and they're subscribing to it are typically the ones that have major health issues in their 50s.
Right.
When like they could have another 50 years on their life, but because of sprinting and being unhealthy and not getting rest, now they're like really suffering.
Right. Absolutely. And I'll kind of frame this in a performance thing, and then I also want to bring another aspect into this. But when we look at training and human performance in the sports arena, there's general adaptation syndrome, in which supercompensation only occurs after recovery and rest has happened. So yes, you need the stressor, you need to face the stressor, but then you need a period to recover before you face the next stressor. And if you recover appropriately and you grade yourself to the stressors, then you have an ability to become better than what you were starting off. And that rule is undefeated. it is completely undefeated. And most of the driven individuals that we've worked with, the part that they're missing is that rest and recovery part. They got the work part down. Like they're nailing that part, but they're not having the rest and recovery. And for me, what really changed my perspective on this, because mind you, as I sit here and tell you about this, this is coming from an individual who, fresh out of grad school, worked 7 different jobs and thought that was the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like barely sleeping, barely having community, barely having any type of friendships or assembling of who I am as a person, just grind, go, 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 which I'm thankful for that I did at that point in my life,
Yeah.
but it also taught me like that's not sustainable.
Yeah, sometimes grinding is not the answer.
Right. So I went from 7 jobs to 5 jobs and thought that was the answer. And I was like, oh no, it's 5 jobs to 3 jobs and still kind of working on the like becoming focused
Mm-hmm.
on the stressor and the recovery aspect for this to grow. But something really that helped my perspective, and this is just from Brandy and mine's faith perspective, is that we look at Jesus as one of the highest performers of all time.
Yeah.
And whether you believe in him or not, you can at least admit that he was here. There's
Mm-hmm.
historical facts showing that he was here. And secondly, that he created a huge community and a
Mm-hmm.
following. Like at a minimum, you can recognize that.
Yeah.
But for us, our faith is much deeper than that, but on a very surface level, like we can respect that.
Mm-hmm.
And how many times in scripture that it says that he went off on his own in a desolate place to rest and to pray. And we have a beautiful cathedral in our diocese that has a sleeping Jesus outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that and Brandy reminding me that, hey, Jesus rested.
Mm-hmm.
Like he worked hard, stayed obedient. He did the thing. That's like he gave us hope and he rested. And if he's resting, why do you think for one moment that you don't need to rest?
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in that rest is that it gives you a little bit more clarity and allows you to reset, takes you from that overwhelmed feeling to being back to being excited. And then it takes the discipline to pace it once you get back into it. So I think most people that we've worked with in this, they need rest in the sense of stillness. And then you also need an action plan
Mm-hmm.
because if you rest and you have stillness, but you come out of it and you're still facing the same storm, yeah, you're probably going to just get back to the same point. So
Mm-hmm.
I would start with that of it's okay for you to take a half day
Yeah.
or a full day off just to rest
Mm-hmm.
and hear clearly and see clearly. I know it feels counterintuitive, but it's going to be extremely helpful. Like when we have people going off to specialized training athletically or kind of in that arena, hey, what do I do right before I go? Nothing.
Yeah.
Eat good food, get some good sleep. You don't have to go get your 10,000 steps in. Like just rest so that when you get there, the supercompensation is happening and now you're performing at your best. So, Bree, you're going into this next thing. That's a big quote unquote competition. The best thing to do going into that is to one, rest, and then two, come back with an action plan.
Yeah.
So, first step, rest.
Yeah. I just want to speak to when I see someone saying like I'm lacking momentum, I either think like they're doing too many things at once,
Mm,
which could be Bree's situation. We don't know Bree's situation, but regardless, like if you're lacking momentum, you might be doing too many things at once where like the momentum doesn't know where to go.
yeah.
Um, or there's almost this like, especially with the time of year, I do think that quote unquote like seasonal depression could be at play of like some sort of friction happened
Hmm.
and now you're like kind of like in the dumps,
Yeah.
right? But I think that the response and the solution is the same for both of those. Because rest is a huge part of it. But then there's this piece of like if it's quote unquote like seasonal depression, speaking from experience, not clinically, like I neither of us are any sort of anything when it comes to depression, but from experience, like that left me like on the couch. That left me like in this quote unquote rest position, but it wasn't actually rest, it was more depression.
Hmm.
But I think that I just want to bring up what you said in the midst of that because you said it so subtly. But when rest is intentional, it's about stillness.
Mm.
And you're listening to what is going to give you life in order for momentum to take off. Rest isn't just like laying on the couch under the blanket because you're depressed. It's intentional stillness
Yeah.
that's going to allow the momentum to take off. So I just want to like put that in there. So,
Yeah. And Bree, when I've been in those moments, for me, it sounds funny, but for me, stillness is going on a jog,
mhm.
either through the woods or in community, like
With no
doesn't
music
matter.
on.
No music on, but just running because my brain isn't able to have all these running thoughts because I'm running
Because you're physically
because I'm
running.
physically running. So
Yeah.
I gave it something else to focus on. And in those moments, that gives me the stillness that I'm able to see and hear a little bit more clearly of what those action steps should be. So that the stillness, it doesn't have to be jogging for you. For some people, it's painting. For some people, it's just sitting down and viewing a river or a lake. For some people, it's community. And we were talking about board games in the last one and how I don't play those. But for you, that might give you the stillness that you need of being together in community and just playing a board game and getting your brain off of all the other stuff to just kind of reset a little bit. But then the stillness only works if you come back and have an action plan present
Mm-hmm.
to now move forward with. So first part of the action plan is just a little bit of shift in perspective of a lot of times we get overwhelmed and disappointed because we have such a high expectation of ourselves and then we don't live up to that expectation. We don't hold that standard. And then the result is that we beat ourselves up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was reading a prayer this morning and one of the parts in it was saying, "Hey, come to me and I will give you rest to stop yourself from beating yourself up
Mm-hmm.
because of how well we can do that of I had these goals, I didn't reach them, I'm not working hard enough, I'm not disciplined enough, I'm not obedient enough, all these things that say I'm not enough. Where the reality is you are. You are enough. You are capable. You can do this. We just need to focus it and pace this
Mm-hmm.
a bit more. So what I would say is that the action plan is first looking at the perspective of it's 2026. It's not going how you planned it. We're 3 months in.
Yeah.
We're not even at the end of the quarter yet. There's 3 quarters left. No championship game is won in that first quarter. It is a long-term thing that we're looking at, and we tend to underestimate how much we accomplish in a short period of time and how much we can accomplish in a long period of time. So know that there's so much time left in this year that you're not even through the first quarter yet. And what happens in the first quarter when things aren't going your way? What does the good coach do? Takes the time out,
Yeah.
regroups,
Consider this episode your timeout.
consider it a timeout, get that timeout, regroup, and now go out with a different energy of, hey, what was the game plan? Okay, was the game plan too complex? Maybe I need to simplify it. Is the defense looking a little bit differently than we expected? So I need to adjust a couple things. But having the ability to be flexible in that. So timeout, know that there's a lot of time left that you can turn this year around very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
very, very quickly. So there's a lot of time left. Um, the next thing that I would say is find where the friction is.
Mm.
The friction is what stops momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So where is that friction? We've done an episode before. Oftentimes the friction is that there's too many goals
Yeah.
instead of having one goal with multiple levels. So kind of evaluate it and see, hey, do I have a bunch of different boats going in different directions? Or do I have a boat going in a direction with a bunch of paddles and oars going in that direction with us? And then add the levels to it and then start building momentum by saying, what's the most achievable goal that I can accomplish after the timeout?
Mm-hmm.
What is the simplest task that I can do to build this momentum? Maybe it's sending that email that's been in your draft for the past 2 months. Maybe it's publishing the website. Maybe it's making the phone call. Like what is that next achievable thing that has the least amount of friction that you can do that starts building momentum towards that one goal that has multiple levels. That often's where the biggest friction is like, "Oh, I haven't accomplished a lot." No, you've probably accomplished a lot of things just in a lot of different domains that feels very scattered instead of building it and stacking it on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So find the friction, build momentum.
Yeah.
And then that also goes into the focus on the foundation.
Mm.
And part of what we talked about with that foundation is making sure that you take the time out and that you're pacing this, that you're not sprinting every step of the way, but that there is a pace to it that is sustainable for that long-term outcome. The other part is oftentimes we try to build high before we've laid the actual foundation.
Yeah.
And if you try to build high without the foundation, you might get a structure that's up, but that structure is going to fall at some point from various elements. So before you start building it vertically, have you laid down the foundation that's going to allow the structure to stand? And pouring the foundation is the most important part. There's some things that you hire out to do. There's some things that you do it yourself. Like pouring a foundation is probably nothing that I will do on my own when it comes to like building a house or a pole barn or a shed or
Mm-hmm.
anything, because how important it is. If you mismeasure the foundation, the rest of the structure
Yeah.
is going to be impacted. So focus on that foundation. The time that you do it yourself is when it's the foundation of the mission that you are on. So pour that foundation, give it the time that's needed to make that foundation sustainable, and then start building it
Mm-hmm.
vertically.
Yeah, I think of I I'm very thankful I get to work with a couple of our like hope coaching clients.
Mhm.
And one of the hope coaching clients I've been working with for over a year now, I feel like we've laid a really great foundation. But there's always going to be certain situations in your life where there's friction, you're starting to lack momentum, and you're just kind of caught up in that week. And it sounds like Bree is kind of caught up in this quarter of whether you're doing too many things, like whatever the situation is, you're kind of caught up in it. And the reason why I said like let this be your timeout is because if you're able to identify like no, I have a good foundation or I need to build a little bit more onto my foundation. If you're able to identify what's causing the friction and allow this perspective shift of okay, I have 3 quarters left, that's going to help you not only build true momentum, but it's going to help you really become who you're meant to be for this year. But we get caught up in this like grandiose like vision before we ask like what is today.
Yeah.
And with the hope coaching client that I'm working with, there's just a lot that she's like caught up in right now. And we had our great conversation, loved it, always do. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, okay, so there's a lot going on. What is one intentional thing that you can do today that you can kind of build the momentum with? And for her and her situation, she was like, I just know that I need to eat breakfast because if I don't eat breakfast, I'm not eating until 3 p.m. with
Yeah.
like my schedule, and that's going to set my day up for success. She didn't have to tell me that she was like starting a opening a business or like
Yeah.
this like all these like grandiose things. It was literally like I just need to make sure that I'm eating breakfast. And so maybe just pause and let this be the timeout of yes, all the tips that Dylan just gave, but also like what is that like one thing that you can do today that like releases that friction,
Hmm.
that helps build your foundation more, that keeps your perspective, but that you can use for today, and then let that be a win, and then let tomorrow be a win with that same thing. And it's like habit stacking that so many high performers know, but like when you do the small thing over and over and over, you're stacking that habit and then you're
Hmm.
making space for more small habits to be stacked as well.
Yeah. During the Duke North Carolina game, Brandy's a UNC
Go
fan.
Tar Heels.
I'm not a Duke fan, but I will say at the game,
It was I just love good basketball. That was not like the greatest basketball game ever, but it's a great rivalry, so you gotta
yeah,
watch it.
yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna get into it, not get into it, but obviously like, I'm a Syracuse basketball fan, and there's this narrative that like Duke's our rival. I'm like, they're not a rivalry. Like literally, we went to the ACC. They needed something.
Yeah.
Like we had Georgetown, we had Villanova, St. John's, like that old Big East. Like those are our rivals.
Yeah.
There's bad blood there. Like you can't say that we're rivals when Coach Boeheim and Coach K coach together
Yeah, they're
on the Olympic
buddies.
team and they're friends. Like this is this made up rivalry where like UNC and Duke is a legit rivalry.
Yeah, I mean their campuses are like 3 minutes from each other
Right.
practically.
So it's always like fun game to watch. Brandon's a UNC fan,
Yeah.
and it just happens that UNC and Syracuse play each other now, and UNC usually gets the better um, deal
Go
in
Tar
that
Heel.
one. But during the game, CP3 was there, Chris Paul, and they go over to him, and Brandon's like, "Oh, who's that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Chris Paul." And we're trying to read what his hat said. I'm pretty sure it was Chris Paul um, in that moment, but his hat said, "Keep stacking days."
Hmm.
And I was like, "What a awesome statement!" Like if we had that hat, I'd put it on right now
Yeah.
for Bree of as Brandon's saying, like, what's that one controllable? What's that one thing with self agency that you can take a step in after you have the timeout, after you have the stillness? What's that next step that you can take today to start to change the tide and make this year what you thought it was going to be? Like
Hmm.
that one small thing. And then trust that as you keep doing it, that you're going to stack it over time.
Hmm.
It's the same thing with weight loss. It's the same thing with muscle gain.
Yeah.
It's what can you do today that by the end of the year, you get to look back and go, wow,
Hmm.
look at all that was accomplished. It's probably still not going to be what you want it to
Yeah.
be because of how high you've set the bar, but you can look back at it and go, wow, I did a lot.
Can I share a hope story that like fits like right in with this? Because it's
Yeah.
like a piece of advice I'd want to share, but I think it could also just be a hope story.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if I already shared it this year, like in the past 3 months, so I'm just gonna share it again. But I have like these two best friends basically. I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of like best friends I call my best friends, and there's like 7 of them. But I have these two, we're in a group chat, love a good trio group chat. Anyways, all that to say, at the beginning of the year, it was on my heart that the three of us needed to be more grateful and essentially like hold each other accountable for gratitude because if you know my story and if you've been listening for a long time, I've shared multiple times how like in my biggest season of depression, darkness, chronic pain, I had a friend challenge me to write 5 things I was grateful for at the end of each day and I begrudgingly did it and it was very like transformative. Like I did it because I committed to it, not because I wanted to, but then over time it literally like shifted my whole spirit that a different friend called me years down the road and literally was like, "I wanted to call you on Thanksgiving because you're the queen of gratitude and when I think of gratitude, I think of you." And I just thought to myself like, "Holy crap, if only she knew how I used to be." Anyways, all that to say, like, when you're stacking days, whether it be weight loss or with goals or like eating breakfast, like I'm helping with one of our clients, stacking gratitude is transformative when there is friction in your life.
Mm,
Because at the very least, it's going to change your perspective
yeah.
and open up whatever needs to be opened up. And I share that as a pointer and a tip as Bree's asking, but also I'm seeing it with my friends because since the new year, every day we share 3 things that we're grateful for in our little group chat. And my one friend who I have known for almost a decade now, she knows all of this about me and how gratitude has changed my life. She said the other day that this is the longest that she's ever practiced gratitude consistently.
Mm,
And I have literally told her for years, like, gratitude's going to help you so much because it's helped me so much, so I know it can be helpful. But I think having the camaraderie with it helped her to have it more consistently. And I'm
mhm,
already starting to see the perspective change and the momentum change. And when you're going through a challenge, having something like gratitude stacking every single day is like, it's gonna at least help with the friction side of things, from my perspective.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my hope story and my little pointer of, if you need something and you don't want to have some self-agency and self-assessment and you just want to do something specifically, gratitude.
Yeah. I mean, that could be part of the stillness day and the timeout of
Yeah.
gathering yourself is gratitude, because I think what happens is that when we get overwhelmed, we start to feel like not only are we not enough, but that we don't have enough.
Yeah.
We don't have enough resources. We don't have enough people. We don't have enough this, that, whatever it may be. But it's all the things that you don't have. And gratitude shifts your perspective into an abundance when you realize how much truly is there that you're just haven't been seeking or seeing for that matter. So the gratitude really helps to shift you into that abundance mindset, which is a better place to operate out of for high performance than a negative not having enough.
Yeah.
So, Bree, thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helped to set you in the right direction of it, and know that most of the time that the players don't take the time out. The coaches have to take the time out because the player just wants to keep pushing. So sometimes you just need that permission that it's okay to take a quick time out, find some stillness, grab a sip of water, then come back with that action plan. And I think there's plenty of tips in there. Take one of them and help it move forward. And I'm thankful that she sent this in, because I'm sure a lot of people are at that point at
Yeah.
this point of the year of 2026 of the new year high is kind of wearing off and the overwhelmingness is setting in of, I thought the first quarter was going to be so different.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we had some projects that we were going to launch in January that we're still behind the scenes working on to get ready. So it's the same thing of this, have the flexibility and know that there's a long-term sustainability that you're after, because that's what hope is. Hope isn't a very short-term thing. It can be, but it's really foundation is the long-term destination that you will get there and that the promises are true.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you to Bree as well, and for submitting the question and for listening and for saying that our podcast really lifts her up, because that's why we're here. Like, we're here to help whoever's listening in whatever season of their life continue to grow and to have hope. And so for our other listeners, if you're hearing this and anything that we said, or just in general, if something like struck you, or you have this like question in your gut that's been burning, please submit it. We would love to feature it on future episodes, because that's what this episode, like, that's what this podcast does. A lot of podcasts you'll find are set up in a way that it's essentially just an interview of another person, which is really cool, but like, that's not our style of podcast. Our podcast is, Dylan and I are here to answer the questions that you have, and we're doing so. So if you have questions, feel free to submit them, whether it be on our Instagram or just on our website, hopenotnope.org. You can submit them on our podcast page or on our contact page. We would love to feature you on future episodes. And if you don't want it to be if you don't, like, if you want it to be not anonymous, you can say you're anonymous. Or if you don't want the podcast featured, but you want our insight, like, we'll email you back, So
Yeah.
we're here for you.
Yeah.
All that to say.
I was just thinking of like Google Docs when you sign on, but you're not signed in and you have multiple people working on a doc, how it's like anonymous hippo,
Yeah.
anonymous giraffe.
Yeah.
So if you don't want your name on there, we'll just put a Google Doc anonymous animal
Yes.
to that name. And tune in next week, because I have a hope story. I shared one part earlier of where I find stillness. And in the next one, I'll share in my hope story another area that I find it.
Ooh, yeah. Tune in next week.
Tune in next week. But have a great week. And remember, high performance isn't just about the strategy of hope, it's about becoming hope.
Thank you for listening to the Hope Not Nope podcast. Please subscribe and share this episode. This podcast is for educational and personal development purposes only and is not considered health or medical advice. For personalized support, connect with a Hope Coach at hopenotnope.org.